Hi, folks. Today we're going to talk about perfect competition. For the next few lectures, what I'm going to be talking about different industries and how they are organized and how they make their decisions about pricing and quantities, how much to price it for and how much to produce in order to maximize total profits. That's the goal of the firm, maximizing profits. The goal of the firm is not to maximize revenues, but to maximize profits. So we're going to take a look at revenues, we're going to take a look at profit, at costs, and then the difference between revenues and costs. If revenues are greater than costs, then they're making a profit, but they don't want to make any profit. They want to make the maximum possible profit. If the revenues are smaller than costs, then they're taking loss. And even when they're taking loss, sometimes it's better for them to stay in business and take a loss in the short run versus shut down the business and end up with maybe even bigger losses in the short run. Even though they're taking losses, sometimes it's better to just stay in business rather than shutting down. And we're going to take a look at that. Now, when we talk about perfect competition, this is the most competitive environment, the most competitive industry. We really don't have perfect competition in this country. So we have here perfect competition. Then the next one is going to be monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is a little bit like perfect competition. It's very competitive, but not exactly perfect competition. Then we're going to talk about oligopoly. Oligopoly is prevalent here in the United States, is where a few large firms are dominating the industry. And then we go to the most extreme, where there is no competition, where one firm represents the whole industry, and that obviously is going to be monopoly. So we're going to take a look at everything. We're going to take a look at first perfect competition, and then I'm going to jump to monopoly, and then we're going to do monopolistic competition and oligopoly as our last chapter. Okay. So let's start with something that I probably should have covered in the previous chapter, which was production costs. I forgot to do it. I always forget to do it in class, so I forgot to do it at home. So I want to talk about profits. In particular, the difference between accounting profits and economic profits. In this class from now on, we only gonna care about economic profits, not accounting profits. And I wanna show you the difference between them. Accounting profits is equal revenue minus costs. And those are explicit costs. What's an explicit cost? If you have to reach into your pocket and pay somebody, that's an explicit cost. So most of the costs are going to be explicit costs, where you pay your rent, you pay your workers, you pay for material, whatever you pay, that's going to be an explicit cost. Now, economic profit is this. It's revenue minus cost, which are the explicit cost, minus implicit cost. So we're going to have to subtract the implicit cost. What are those implicit costs? It's our opportunity cost. It's what we're giving up. So let me explain what this means. If you are making economic profits, if a firm is making economic profits, then the firm is actually making abnormal profits. They're making way too much money. They should not be making that type of money. When the firm is making zero economic profits, that means that the firm is just covering their opportunity cost, that they are just making what they should be making. They're making a normal rate of return. Positive economic profits is abnormal rate of return. Zero economic profits is a normal rate of return. Negative economic profits, that's a bad situation. You are making less than you should be making. So let's suppose a person should be making $50,000. they are trained, their profession, their experience should give them a pay of $50,000. Now, if you are offered $50,000 and you should be making $50,000, you are making, in economic terms, zero economic profit. If you are making more than $50,000, whatever is above $50,000, that's the economic profit. You're making an abnormal rate of return. You're making more than you should be making. If you're making less than $50,000, well, then you're making less than your opportunity cost, which is $50,000. You're making a negative economic profit. And that's when firms have to look at whether they should get out of the business or maybe stay in business for a short period of time. So making zero economic profit is a good situation. That's what I want you to get out of this. Zero economic profits is a normal rate of return, and most firms will be very, very happy to make a normal rate of return. A firm that is making zero economic profit means that that firm is actually paying everybody what they should be paid. So the assembly workers are making what assembly workers are making, the engineers what the engineers, the VPs what the VPs, the president what the president. Everybody is making a normal rate of return. To make positive economic profit, it means that you are making way too much money. Okay. And if there are barriers to entry into that industry, then the firm may be able to make zero economic, positive economic profits in the long run. If there are no barriers to entry in an industry, then it's going to be impossible to make positive economic profits in the long run, because other firms will see this from other industries. They will get into this industry and they will chip away at those profits. So when it's easy to get in and out of an industry, in the long run, only zero economic profits are possible. If it's hard to get in and out of an industry, then you can earn positive economic profits in the long run. In the short run, anything is possible. In the short run, you can make positive, zero, or negative economic profits. But in the long run, if it's easy to come in and out, only zero economic profits are possible. In the long run, if there are barriers to entry, then the firms can hold off other firms who are coming into their industry, and they can maintain those positive economic profits for the long run. So barriers to entry means that in the long run, you may be able to have positive economic profits. No barriers to entry, in the long run, only zero economic profits are possible. And also remember, in the short run, anything is possible, positive, zero, or negative. Okay, so let's start with perfect competition, and let's take a look at some of the characteristics of perfect competition. One characteristic of perfect competition is there are many firms in that industry. Well, what this tells us is that if there are many firms in the industry, this should tell us that the size of those firms is rather small. And another thing that should be derived from the fact there are many of them is that it's probably very easy to get in and out of this industry. Those are small firms. It doesn't take a lot of money to get into this type of an industry. So therefore, it's easy to get in, easy to get out. I'm going to write it down. Another very important characteristic of perfect competition is the fact that they all produce identical items. People, consumers cannot tell the difference from the product coming from firm A to firm B to firm C to firm D. They look exactly the same. So this would not be an example of toothpaste because we have preferences. Somebody prefers Colgate, somebody prefers Crest, somebody Aquafresh. So that would not be an example. You cannot say toothpaste is toothpaste. We have preferences. That's not the case with perfect competition. In perfect competition, the products are completely identical. The book calls them homogeneous. Homogeneous means you cannot tell the difference. They're identical. Okay. So maybe an example would be agriculture or mineral, where gold is gold, apple is apple, oil is oil, where the product is exactly the same. You cannot tell the difference if it comes from firm A, firm B, or firm C. Okay. Because of that, another thing that we can conclude is that the price, there's going to have to be only one price because the products are identical. Well, who's going to determine that price? The price is going to be determined by the whole industry, is going to be determined by the forces of supply and demand. Like for gold, who determines the price of gold? It's not the firm and it's not the consumer. It's the supply and the demand for gold. The price of gold fluctuates throughout the day. And the reason for that is because either the supply changes or the demand changes. And those changes in supply and demand will determine the price. The firm itself has no impact, has no control over the price of gold. So if you decide to go into gold prospecting, whatever the price of gold is, that's what you're going to sell your gold for. You have no control over the price. If the price of gold is, let's say, $1,200 an ounce, you're not going to be able to sell your gold for more than $1,200 an ounce because everybody else is selling it for $1,200. And you would lose all your customers if you would do that. On the other hand, if the price is $1,200 and you charge $1,100, sure you can sell it, but you can actually sell all the gold that you want at $1,200. So it makes no sense for a firm to sell a price that is lower than the going rate, than the price determined by the market. Because those firms are so small, they can sell as much of their product at the going rate. Okay, they're tiny, tiny. It's a pebble or a piece of sand in the whole place of, on the beach. So you are just a tiny, tiny speck in the whole market for the product, gold or whatever the product is. Okay, so you are a price taker. A perfectly competitive firm is a price taker. The price is determined in the market by the forces of supply and demand. But then you as a firm, you are a price taker. Whatever the price has been determined by supply and demand, you're going to have to take that price and sell your product at that price. And you can sell as much as you want. Now, you're not going to sell any quantity. You're going to sell a particular quantity, and that's going to be the one that's going to give you the maximum profits. I'm going to return to one of the conditions of perfect competition: easy to get in, easy to get out. That's going to ensure that profits, economic profits in the long run for the firm will be zero. If there are positive economic profits in the short run, other firms will come in, will chip away at those profits, and your profits will go down to zero. Zero economic profit is not a bad situation. You're making a normal rate of return. You're making what you should be making. If there are negative economic profits, what's going to happen? Firms will get out. And as the firms are getting out, that's going to leave higher profits for the remaining firms until those profits are going to be exactly zero. As long as there are negative economic profit, there's an incentive for firms to get out, and that's going to raise the price. That's going to cause the price to go up and the profits to go up until they're zero. If the price goes up too much, and the profits become positive, now others will come in at that point and the price is going to go down until the profits are zero. So the only type of profits that can be obtained by perfect competitive firm in the long run are zero economic profits. But that's not a bad deal. That's what you should be making. So the firms are perfectly happy making zero economic profit. Okay, now let's take a look at the industry, and then we're going to take a look at the firm. Let's suppose that we're talking about gold, the gold industry. Well, there's a supply of gold, there's a demand for gold. And that's going to be the equilibrium price of gold. That's going to be the going rate for gold. And you, let's say the price is $1,000 per ounce. You decide to become a gold prospector. And you go out to the San Diego River and you start panning for gold. And lo and behold, you find gold. You find an ounce of gold, pure gold. What's the price? How much you're going to charge for it? $1,000, $1,000 per ounce, obviously. So you're going to sell your gold at $1,000. That's the price that was determined in the market, in the industry, by supply and demand. And you sell your first ounce of gold for $1,000. Find another ounce of gold. You're going to charge another $1,000. Another one, another $1,000. In other words, the contribution to the revenue of each ounce of gold is going to be $1,000. The contribution of the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. The contribution to the revenue of an additional unit has a name. It's called marginal revenue. Marginal looks at an additional unit. How much does an additional unit contribute? Well, since you're selling all the units at $1,000, each unit contributes exactly $1,000. So the marginal revenue of the first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth, and so on is going to be $1,000. So this line here represents the marginal revenue for the firm. It's a straight line. It implies that each unit contributes the same amount to the revenue. It also represents the demand for the firm for gold. You can sell at that price any quantity. So you should be able to sell any quantity at that particular price. Well, the explanation is because you are a very, very small, tiny producer of gold in the whole market of gold. So you can sell as much as you want at that market price. Let's think what else that represents, that curve here. I sell one ounce of gold, I get $1,000. That's the total revenue. On average, I made $1,000 from that ounce of gold. So the average revenue of the first unit is $1,000. If I sell 2 ounces of gold, my total revenue is going to be $2,000. On average, from each one of them, I made $1,000. 3 ounces, $3,000. On average, each unit contributed $1,000. So this curve also represents the average revenue for gold. Average revenue, because that's how much I make on average from each ounce of gold, $1,000. Okay, now this represents marginal revenue curve. Let's take a look at marginal cost curve. We know from last lecture on production cost that marginal revenue curve tends to go down, and as we increase production and productivity decreases, then marginal cost starts to go up. So marginal cost curve is going to have a U-shaped curve like this. Now, question is, how many ounces of gold should we sell? And to do that, we're going to say like this. We're going to take it 1 unit at a time. We're going to say, should we sell this first unit? It puts $1,000 in my pocket, and it contributes to my cost, let's say $600. Should I produce it? Of course. Puts $1,000 in my pocket, take 600 out of my pocket. Yeah, makes sense to produce it. Then you go to the second one. Wow, look at the second one. I sell it for 1,000. It puts $1,000 in my pocket, but it takes only, let's say, $300 out of my pocket. Wow, that contributes a lot to my profit, right? 1,000 in my pocket, only $300. But should I stop here? And the answer, no, I should keep going. How come? Because this third unit is going to put $1,000 in my pocket and is going to take $700 out of my pocket. It still makes sense to produce that unit because it puts more money in my pocket than it takes out of my pocket. So for how long does it make sense for us to produce gold and to sell gold? Up to the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Every unit up to this Q star, this is going to be the Q star, the profit maximizing quantity. Q star is the profit maximizing quantity, and you're going to find it at marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Every unit up to Q star contributed more to the revenue than it contributed to the cost. So as long as a unit contributes more to the revenue, puts more money in your pocket than it takes out of your pocket, it makes sense for us to produce. You get to Q star, you stop. Why do you stop? Because if you go to 1 unit past Q star, it's going to contribute more to the cost than it's going to contribute to the revenue. I would never produce a unit that I'm going to sell for $1,000, but it cost me $1,200 to produce or $1,100 to produce. I would never do that. So I'm going to stop at Q star. So Q star, we're going to find it where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That's the profit maximizing quantity. That's the quantity that we need. Now, here's the deal. I told you that is the profit maximizing quantity. That's the profit maximizing quantity, Q star. However, it doesn't mean that we're making a positive profit. It could be that we're losing money. It could be that we're making a negative profit. But guess what? If we're making a negative profit, we still want to produce at Q star because we will make the least amount of loss. So if we're losing money, if I produce a Q star, I'm going to lose the least amount of money. If I make a positive profit, I'm going to make the maximum amount of profit. So no matter what, whether I make money or I lose money, Q star is the desired production point. How many units I want to produce. If I lose the least. If I make profit, I make the most. Now, let's take a look at when you make a profit, when you're taking a loss. Okay, so far we have that we are selling a unit at this price, and the price is the same as marginal revenue because we're selling all the units at the same price, $1,000. So each unit contributes to the revenue $1,000. Okay, Price is the same as marginal revenue for the perfectly competitive firm. Now we have the marginal cost, which goes down and then it goes up. Okay, so far so good. Right now, we know that we should be producing at Q star. Guess what? On this graph, we already know something. We know what total revenue is because I know what the price is and I know what the quantity is. And total revenue is price times quantity. So I know how much money is coming in. If the price is $10 and the quantity is $100, 100 units, then total revenue is going to be $1,000. $10 times 100 units equals $1,000. And that's going to be represented by this area here. This area represents total revenue. Price times quantity. Remember, if you multiply two sides of a rectangle, you're going to get the area of that rectangle. So this here is total revenue. But what do we need? We also need the cost to find out whether we're making a profit or a loss. So for that, I'm going to need a new graph. I'm going to need a new curve that's going to show me how do we find the total cost. So I need the average total cost. And from the previous lecture, you know that the average total cost curve is going to look like a curve that goes down and then it goes up. Now that we have the average total cost, we can find what is the total cost when we produce, well, first we find what is the average total cost when we produce Q star. And all you have to do is go from Q star all the way up to the average total cost curve. And then on the y-axis, you can see what is the average cost of a unit. Because what average total cost does is you pick a unit, you pick a number, how many units you're producing, you go up to the average total cost and over to the y-axis, and you can read what is the average cost of a unit. Okay. And in this particular case, at Q star, this is the average total cost of a unit. You see that the average cost of a unit is more than the price that I'm selling each unit for. I'm selling each unit for $1,000, and each unit is costing me an average of $1,200. That means that I'm losing $200 per unit. This difference here between the average total cost and the price is how much I'm losing per unit. It's, if you will, the average loss. The difference between average total cost and average revenue, which is the same as the price, is the average loss, since the average total cost is higher than the average revenue or the price. So when the average total cost is greater than the price, we're going to take a loss. But this is the loss per unit. In order for me to see how much I'm losing in total, I have to multiply the loss per unit times the number of units. So if I lose $2 per unit and I produce 10 units, that means that altogether I'm losing $20. Well, this is this area here. Loss per unit times the number of units. Remember, you multiply two sides of a rectangle, you're going to get this area. So this area here represents the total loss. Well, in a few minutes, we're going to discuss what should this firm do? They're losing money. Should they go out of business? Should they shut down the business? Or should they stay in the business in the short run? Well, we're going to get to that. Let me show you a firm that shows positive economic profits. Price, the same as marginal revenue. We have marginal cost. we have Q star. And now we need one more curve that's going to tell us whether we're making a profit or a loss. That's the average total cost curve. Now you see, it's a little bit of light. Now you see what's happening is when we produce Q star, you're selling each unit for this price. But the average cost of each unit, you go from Q star all the way to the average total cost and then to the y-axis, and you have the average total cost. Now the price is higher than the average total cost. You're selling each unit for $10 and each unit costs you an average of $8. You're making profit of $2 per unit. And then you multiply the profit per unit, $2 times Q star, which is the number of units. And now you can calculate what is the total profit. And this area here represents the economic profit. That's a very, very happy firm. Very, very happy firm. Because they're making abnormal profits. They're making positive economic profits, and that is an abnormal situation. They're making more than they should be making. Let's do another situation. Price, which is the same as marginal revenue. Marginal cost. The profit maximizing firm is going to produce at MC equal MR. So we found our Q star. To see whether we're making a positive profit or a negative profit or what's going on, we need the average total cost curve. What are we making here? Price is the same as the average cost of a unit. We are making zero economic profit. We're selling each unit for $10 and each unit has an average cost of $10. We're making zero economic profit. But remember, this is zero economic profit. It means that we are covering our opportunity cost. So we're just covering the opportunity cost. This is a person that should be making $50,000 and they're making $50,000. They're making a normal rate of return. This firm is perfectly happy. They're making zero economic profits, but that's different from zero accounting profits. Zero accounting profits means you make no money. Zero economic profit means you're making just your opportunity cost. You're covering your opportunity cost. So this is a happy firm. The previous graph where you were making a positive economic profit, that's an ecstatic firm. Okay. They're very, very, very happy. They're making more than they should be making. So zero economic profit, previous positive economic profit. Let's take a look, review again the negative economic profit, because that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Okay, the average total cost is higher than the price. So we're losing money. We're making negative economic profits. What should they do? And to explain that to you, I'm going to give you an example, a numerical example. Let's suppose that we open up a restaurant. Not a good time to do that, but anyway, we open up a restaurant and we have to, first of all, find a location. Once we find the locations, immediately we find a great location, we're gonna sign a lease. That lease that we signed, that's the fixed cost. And let's say that a lease is for $5,000 a month. Remember, this is the fixed cost, is the lease, and it's $5,000 a month. Now, when you sign a lease, you're gonna have to sign the lease for a year, 2 years, 5 years. It's gonna be a long term. It's almost impossible, if not impossible, to find a month-to-month lease. So this lease is gonna lock us into, let's say, at least 1 year of $5,000 per month. Now we need some workers. Well, we need some workers. What's gonna happen? This is the variable cost. So those are the labor. And let's say that labor is $10,000 per month. Okay. We have labor costs of $10,000 per month. That's the variable cost. And fixed cost is the lease that I'm saying, and that's $5,000 per month. Obviously, my total cost every month, my total cost is going to be $15,000. 5 towards the lease, 10 to pay my workers. So my total cost is $15,000. Let's say that revenues that we have, we're selling food and stuff like that. So revenues is equal to $12,000 a month. So I have fixed cost of $5,000, variable cost of $10,000, and revenues of $12,000. My total cost is $15,000 and my revenues are $12,000. I'm losing money. So what should I do? Should I shut down a business or should I stay in business? Well, if I shut down the business, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to get rid of the revenues because if I shut down the business, I'm not going to have any meals that I'm selling, any food that I'm selling. If I shut down a business, I'm not going to keep on paying the employees. They've been laid off, and therefore, we don't have any salaries for them. But guess what? Each and every month, for the remainder of the lease, I'm going to have to reach into my pocket and pay $5,000 a month out of my pocket. Had I stayed in business, I would have had to pay $3,000 out of my pocket because the revenues were covering the variable cost and they were covering some of the fixed cost. $2,000 out of the fixed cost was paid by the revenues, and I only had to make up the difference of $3,000. So in this case, since my revenues are covering the variable cost and then some, I want to stay in business because if I shut it down, I'm going to be stuck with the fixed cost. So whenever you shut down, you're going to have to cover the whole fixed cost out of your pocket. And if your revenues are able to cover the variable cost, then whatever is left over can go towards the fixed cost, so you don't have to pay the whole fixed cost out of your pocket. So what do we need to determine whether you're going to stay in business or you're going to shut down? We need the average variable cost. So let me draw an average variable cost here. Like we did last class, the average variable cost goes down and then it goes up. Okay. Are we covering the average variable cost? The answer is no, we're not covering the average variable cost. Here is the average variable cost. And here is the price. Average variable cost times the quantity is the total variable cost, is the variable cost. Average variable cost times quantity is variable cost. Price times quantity is revenues. So my revenues are not even able to cover the $10,000. Imagine that I had revenues of $8,000 per month. If I had revenues of $8,000 per month, it would make absolutely no sense for me to stay in business, to pay out of my pocket $2,000 for the workers, for the employees, and then the whole fixed cost also out of my pocket. In this case, it makes sense to shut down the business. If I shut down the business, I'm only going to pay the fixed cost out of my pocket. If I stay in business, I'm going to have to pay the whole fixed cost out of my pocket, and then another $2,000 also out of my pocket. Makes no sense. So in this case, I should shut down. Shut down. If the average variable cost is above the price, you want to shut down. However, if we have a situation like this, okay, we're losing money. We're losing money. The average cost of a unit is greater than the price that I'm selling that unit for. But the average variable cost is here. In other words, the price is higher than the average variable cost. That means that price times quantity, which is total revenue, and it's this big area here, is this area here. That's the total revenue, is greater than this area here, which is average variable cost times quantity, which is variable cost. So my revenues are greater than the variable cost. And whatever is left over after I paid the labor, whatever money is left over after I paid the labor out of the revenues, that money can go towards paying some of the fixed cost. It's not going to pay the whole fixed cost. I'm still going to have to reach into my pocket and pay the remainder out of my pocket. But if I would shut down in this case, I would have to pay the whole fixed cost out of my pocket. So what's the decision here? If you're able to cover the variable cost, then you should stay in business. If the revenues are not able to cover the variable cost, you should shut down. Remember, if you shut down, you will always be stuck with the fixed cost. Obviously, you're going to be stuck until the end of the lease. At the end of the lease, you're going to say bye-bye, and that's it. You're done. You know. Of course, the assumption here is that there's nothing you can do about costs. There's nothing you can do about the price. You cannot increase the price because this is perfect competition where the price is given. It's determined in the industry. So you cannot tell, oh, you can just raise the price. No, the price is determined by the industry. So you have no impact on the price. And again, the other assumption is that you have also no impact on the costs. You're stuck with those costs. So given that you have those costs, if you are able to cover the variable cost, then stay in business until the end of the lease. And then you get out of the lease, you're done with that business, or you can renegotiate, whatever. If you cannot cover the variable cost, then you shut it down, because then you will only have to cover the fixed cost. Okay. So now let's do some problems that you may see on the test. Let's suppose that I tell you that a firm is at a production point where it's facing the following values. Okay. So marginal revenue equals 10, marginal cost equals 8, average total cost equals 6, average variable cost equals 4. This is a perfectly competitive firm, and only for a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue is the same as the price. So we already know the price that we're selling each unit for, 10 bucks. And we also know the average cost of a unit, 6 bucks. That means that we're making a profit, folks. But are we making the maximum profit? And the answer is no. Why not? Because we are not at MC equal MR. Look where we are. We are not here. We're not at Q star, because if we were at Q star, we would have MC equal MR. So we must be either someplace at a Q here at Q1, or someplace here at Q2. Well, let's see. Which one is greater, marginal revenue or marginal cost? Marginal revenue is 10, marginal cost is 8. Marginal revenue 10, marginal cost 8. So we must be here. And if we are here, what do we want to do to the output? We want to increase the output to move to Q star. So in this type of problem here, the answer is, what should we do? Increase output. Okay. Let me change the numbers a little bit. This firm, again, is making a profit. Marginal revenue is the same as the price. So we're selling each unit for 10 bucks. Each unit cost us an average of $6. So we're making an average of $4 per unit. That's a profit. But are we making the maximum profit? No. Why not? Because we're not at Q star. We are not at MC equal MR. We are with MC is greater than MR. So therefore, what we want to do is we want to decrease the output. So if you have a problem where I give you marginal revenue, marginal cost, average total cost, average variable cost, first thing that you do is you look at marginal revenue and marginal cost. Are they equal? If they are equal, you're at Q star. If they're not equal, then it's a matter of either increasing or decreasing the output. So what I would do is I would put up a graph like this and look, am I to the left? If I'm to the left, I want to increase it. I'm to the right, I want to decrease it. It's as simple as that. So when marginal revenue is not equal to marginal cost, is a matter of increasing or decreasing the output. That's going to be the answer. But what if we have a situation like this? Marginal revenue equals 10. Marginal cost equals 10. Average total cost 6. Average variable 4. Since it's a perfectly competitive firm, we know that marginal revenue is the same as the price. So the price is 10 bucks. If I give you marginal revenue and it's perfectly competitive, I gave you the price. It doesn't work with monopoly or monopolistic competition, but works with perfect competition. Marginal revenue the same as the price. So price is 10 bucks. I'm selling each unit for 10 bucks. Each unit cost me 6 bucks. I'm making a profit. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That means that I'm Q star. That means that I'm making the maximum possible profit. What should I do? Absolutely nothing. I'm maximizing the profit. That's the goal of the firm. Leave it alone. So in this case is not change anything. So don't touch. Where marginal revenue equals marginal cost and the price is greater than the average total cost, you are perfectly fine. You're maximizing profit. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Marginal revenue 10, marginal cost 10, average total cost is 12. So I'm selling each unit for 10, but each unit costs me an average of 12. I'm losing $2 per unit. I don't know how much the total loss is because I don't know what the Q star is. Because we would have to multiply the loss per unit times the number of units. But I'm losing $2 per unit. So this is negative economic profit. However, notice that the price, which is marginal revenue, is greater than the average variable cost. So that means that P times Q, which is total revenue, is greater than AVC times Q, which is variable cost. So we're able to cover the variable cost. Total revenues is greater than variable cost. In this case, we're going to stay in business. Until when? Until the lease is up. So in the short run, we're going to stay in business. Okay. So this one, again, don't do anything. Stay in business. I'm losing money, but I'm better off staying in business because if I shut down, I'm going to end up paying the whole fixed cost out of my pocket. Here, some of the revenues, after I pay the variable cost, some of those revenues that are left over, they can go and pay some of the fixed costs. So I don't have to pay the whole fixed cost out of my pocket. Again, marginal revenue is the same as the price. So I'm selling each unit for 10 bucks. It's costing me 12 bucks. I'm losing money. But the price is less than the average variable cost. That means that I'm not even able to cover the variable cost. I'm better off shutting down. And if I shut down, I'm going to be stuck with a fixed cost only. If I stay in business, I got to pay the fixed cost out of my pocket and some of my workers also out of my pocket. Makes no sense. So in this case, we're going to shut down. Okay, so remember what we need. Marginal revenue, marginal cost. Where they're equal, you find a Q star. The price is the same as marginal revenue. It's been determined by the market, not by the firm, by the market. You, the firm, have only one decision to determine what is that Q star, to find the Q star. Once you find the Q star, you need to find what is the average total cost. So you have the average total cost given to you. You go from Q star all the way to the average total cost. You go to the y-axis from that point. So you go from, let's say, from Q star all the way to the average total cost. On the y-axis, you can read what is the average cost of a unit. And if the average cost of a unit is greater than the price of a unit, that means that you're losing money. And if you're losing money, then you have to look at how is the price vis-a-vis the average variable cost. So I got to give you the average, got to have the average variable cost. And if you go from Q star to where the average variable cost is, let's say here, and you see that the average variable cost is less than the price, that means that you are able to cover those variable costs, and therefore you should stay in business. If the average variable cost is above the price, you're not able to cover those variable costs, and you're just better off shutting down the business and being stuck only with a fixed cost. Okay. Let me just show you one more graph. Not that you will have it on the test, but just want to show you one more graph. So far, we looked at finding Q star by looking at marginal revenue and marginal cost. But let's take a look at a graph that shows total revenues and total cost. This shows our total cost, which keeps going up. Total cost will always go up. You know, I have the fixed plus the variable, and as the fixed may stay constant, but as the variable increases, that means that the fixed plus variable, which is total, is always going to go up. And we have the total revenue. The more I sell, the higher the total revenue is. How do we find on this graph the Q star? Well, guess what? Q star is where we maximize profit. And profit is the difference between total revenues and total cost. So on this graph, Q star is going to be approximately here. Why? Because the vertical distance between total revenue and total cost at this Q is about the biggest. Okay, that vertical distance represents profits, right? Where total revenue is greater than total cost. And here it appears that total revenue is greater than total cost by the biggest distance, by the biggest vertical distance. So we're making the highest profit. Okay. Let me show you another thing. Oh, by the way, this cost over here that we have, even if the output is zero, so it's the cost that you find at an output is zero, it's the fixed cost. That represents the fixed cost. What is the cost when I don't produce anything? It's the lease that I pay. Because you pay the lease whether you produce 0, 100, or 1,000. It's the same. Let me change the fixed cost. I changed the fixed cost. I increased it from FC is now higher to FC prime. Was $1,000 a month, now it's $2,000 a month. Looking at the graph, there is no output. There is no output where this firm could possibly ever make a profit. They're going to lose money no matter what, because the total cost curve is above the total revenue curve. But notice that at Q star, the difference between total cost and total revenue is the smallest. So that's why I want you to understand that Q star, if you're making profits, you want to be there because you're going to make the maximum profits. But if you're taking loss, you still want to be there because you're making the least amount of loss. Any output other than Q star, if you're making profits, is going to lower your profits. If you're making losses, it's going to increase your losses. So no matter what, you want to be at Q star. The only question is, if I'm making losses, am I able to cover at least the variable cost? If I'm able to cover at least the variable cost, then I will stay in business until the lease is up. Okay. The perfectly competitive firm in the short run can make positive economic profit, zero economic profits, negative economic profits. Zero economic profits is perfectly fine. It's normal rate of return. Positive economic profits, you're ecstatic. Negative economic profits, now you're unhappy. In the long run, the perfectly competitive firm will only be able to make zero economic profits. If there are positive economic profits, others will get into the industry and they will chip away those profits. If there are negative economic profits, firms will get out, and that's going to increase the profits for the rest of them. So only zero economic profits is possible in the long run for the perfectly competitive firm. In the short run, anything is possible. All right, we'll discuss some more of this at our office hours. And we have office hours for micro at 1 o'clock for the Monday, Wednesday class, and at 11:30 for the Tuesday, Thursday class. Okay, I will see you in office hours. I'm gonna shut this off now. Let's see. There we go. No.